All right, today we're talking about a tool that might just completely change how you work with data. It's called DuckDB. And look, it's designed to solve one of those really frustrating problems. The ones we all run into pretty much every single day. So let's just jump right in with a scenario. Okay, so picture this. You get handed a massive data set, and I mean massive. We're talking 118 million New York City taxi rides. That's gigabytes and gigabytes of data. And the task is simple. Analyze it. The catch? You don't have a big server cluster or some fancy cloud setup. You just have your laptop. So what do you think? How fast could you possibly run a single query on all of that data?
What if I told you just over 3 seconds? Seriously, that's not a typo. 3.03 seconds. With DuckDB, a query that summarizes trip distances across all 118 million records is done in the time it takes to blink. This is the kind of mind-blowing, game-changing speed we're talking about. And the craziest part? It's all happening right on your laptop.
Okay, so to really get why that speed is so incredible, we have to talk about, well, the headache that is modern data analysis, right? For years, it feels like we've been stuck between a rock and a hard place, forced to choose between two extremes. So on one hand, you've got the heavy-duty big data systems, Spark clusters, big data warehouses, the whole shebang. They're super powerful for sure, but they're also insanely complex, they cost a ton, and just getting them set up can take forever. Then, on the other hand, you have your trusty local tools. Think Pandas or even Excel. They're simple, they run right on your laptop, which is great, until you try to open a file that's more than a couple of gigs. Then, poof, they just choke. It's a really frustrating choice to have to make.
So where does that leave us? Well, this is exactly where DuckDB swoops in. The best way to think about it is as the SQLite for analytics. Now, if you've ever done any kind of development, you've probably run into SQLite. It's that tiny, super simple, file-based database that's pretty much embedded in everything, from your phone to your web browser. DuckDB takes that exact same idea and just supercharges it for doing heavy-duty analytics on massive datasets.
And here's the absolute key to understanding its magic. DuckDB is an in-process database. What does that mean? It means it runs inside your application. It's not a separate program. It's right there in your Python script or your Jupyter notebook or whatever tool you're using. You don't have to install a server. You don't have to manage it. You don't have to worry about connecting to it. It's just a library that gives you the power of a full-blown analytics database, right where you're already working. This whole approach really gets to the heart of what DuckDB is all about. The authors of the book, DuckDB in Action, they put it perfectly. They said it's a technology that basically goes against everything we've been taught about big data for the last decade. It challenges that whole idea that you always need some huge distributed system to do serious data work. It's all about bringing that power back to you, the developer, on your own machine. Okay, now we get to what is, in my opinion, DuckDB's absolute killer feature. This is the thing that will just completely change your daily workflow. Get this, you can forget about that slow, painful, annoying process of importing data. Why? Because DuckDB lets you query your files directly, right where they sit. And the process? It's just brilliantly simple. Step 1, you just point DuckDB at your data file. Could be a CSV, could be one of those super efficient Parquet files, could be JSON. Step 2, you write a standard SQL query, just like you would if that file was already a table in a database. And step 3, you get your results instantly. No more sitting around, watching a progress bar, waiting for data to load. And this isn't just for files on your local hard drive. This is where it gets really wild. The flexibility is incredible. You can point DuckDB at a URL on the web. You can even point it at massive Parquet files sitting in a cloud storage bucket like Amazon S3. And you can query them all without ever downloading a single byte of that data first. It just works. But look, DuckDB isn't just some cool, isolated, standalone tool. No way! It was designed from the ground up to be a perfect team player in the modern data world. It integrates beautifully with all the tools that data pros are already using every single day. I mean, it really connects everywhere. If you're in Python doing data manipulation, it works seamlessly with pandas and polars. If you're building out serious data pipelines, it can be the engine for tools like DLT for getting the data in, DBT for transforming it, and Dagster for orchestrating the whole process. And then, when you're ready to show off your work, it plugs right into visualization tools like Streamlit and Apache Superset. So what this means is you can build a really powerful, totally modern data pipeline that's also surprisingly lightweight.
Think about it. You can use DLT to pull data from an API and load it straight into a DuckDB file. And then you can run all your complex SQL transformations on it with dbt, and you can have Dagster manage the whole schedule. And the engine powering all of it? Just one fast, simple little library.
And hey, for all you Python developers out there, the integration gets even better. So, you know that situation, right? You've got a pandas data frame loaded up in your script. If you wanted to use SQL on it, normally you'd have to do that annoying dance of saving it to a CSV and then loading it back up somewhere else. Well, with DuckDB, you can run complex SQL queries directly on that data frame that's sitting in memory. You get the full power and expressiveness of SQL without ever having to leave your Python script. It's awesome. Okay, so it's pretty clear DuckDB is amazing on your laptop, but there's always a but, right? What happens when your data just gets too big, even for your powerful machine? Or what if you need to collaborate with your team on a project? How do you scale this thing up? Well, that's where MotherDuck comes into the picture. It's a cloud service that extends DuckDB with this really clever hybrid model. So you can run a query, and it's smart enough to figure out what to do. It'll run some parts of it locally on your machine to keep things fast, but it'll seamlessly push all the heavy lifting up to powerful servers in the cloud. So you get the exact same simple DuckDB experience you love, but now with basically infinite serverless scale. So let's wrap this all up. What is DuckDB? It's the tool that finally closes that frustrating gap between simple local tools and powerful big data systems. It gives you the best of both worlds. It lets you skip the whole tedious import process and just query your data instantly. It plugs into the entire modern data stack. And maybe most importantly, it's a tool that's built from the ground up to respect your time and your computer's resources. By making data analytics so much faster, easier, and more accessible, it really opens up a ton of new possibilities for what you can accomplish all from your own laptop. So the question I want to leave you with is this. When you start your next data project, do you really need that huge, complex cluster? Or could you just use a Duck?